I'm Edric,
I'm Joy.
and we're here to help you.
Get it right from the start.
So we have here someone very special to us. And I think in many ways, I think you can say this officially on cam. You heard it here first. She is the poster girl of homeschooling in the Philippines. And there's a reason for that, right? So before we get ahead of ourselves, I think the better person to introduce our guest is you.
Oh,
Please.
the ate. Older sister, me. Yes. Mwah. So this is great. Having Carolyn, a family member, on the show. I think we've not done this before. And as you can see, even our venue is different because she is very pregnant. She is about to give birth to her 6th child. So there's only been one family that's beat us, Edric and myself, in our family.
Matched.
In the
Nobody's
family.
matched us yet.
And actually, this is her 7th child because she lost one. Right? She had a miscarriage. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And my segue is because if you see her, I was homeschooled for a shorter time. She was homeschooled the longest. So what happened was she turned out to be the most accomplished.
And I was waiting. So maybe Joy will not say this, but Carolyn is a doctor. She's a medical doctor. She also has a master's degree in business, MBA, right? And she graduated from a very good school called Ateneo de Manila, where she graduated summa cum laude. She was also the were you captain?
No, I got Rookie of the Year, though.
Rookie of the Year, but she was part of the first female UAAP women's basketball team. Champion team.
Yes.
So again, to
Wait,
Carolyn.
not just that.
Yes.
Did you say she's a musician? She writes music.
You can add that.
Yeah. And she composes.
So Carolyn will not say these things about herself. She's very modest.
And-
But so we're having to say this for her, just so that you understand why we say she's the poster girl of homeschooling. So
And one unique thing about her too is she has 5 daughters. So far. We'll see what the next one will be.
maybe by the time you are listening to this, we already know. But for now, so let's jump into the conversation. I think there's many things we want to ask her, but this part of the podcast is all about your story.
Yeah, and I think Carolyn, you represent a very encouraging image and persona, not just for homeschoolers, but even for mothers, for women who juggle both work and even ministry and motherhood and homeschooling. And so it'd be nice to really get your perspective. We'll break this up into several parts. But for this first one, I just want people to have a background about who you are and how you grew up. Like I don't really know, but
for them, not for you, right? This will be for the viewers, not for Edric and Joy.
So tell me, what was the highlight for you of your homeschooling experience with mom, with dad, with our family?
Well, to start off with, I was the youngest, right? So when you guys were all off at school and then mom pulled you out to homeschool you, I was still just like 0 or 1. So homeschooling for me really started from the very beginning. So 0 to 11, I was homeschooled. So basically that's
Until
from
you
the
entered
time
middle school.
until I entered grade 6, middle school. So I didn't know anything different. And I loved it, honestly, because I felt like, well, number 1, I didn't have anything to compare with. Number 2, the time that I could spend doing homeschooling, we were done by lunch, and in the afternoons we could do different things with our lives, like learn an instrument, go to the river, get tadpoles and turn them into frogs. Like just do different activities that it just felt really balanced.
A lot of play.
A lot of play. Yeah. And because I was with Candy, so that's our second sister, we just played a lot together. So it was really fun and just discovered different things along the way,
So did you feel like there was a predictable routine and rhythm to your everyday? And was that helpful, not helpful?
Okay. I think growing up, I didn't really pay much attention to it. But now that I'm a mom And now that I have my own kids, I realized there was a rhythm that was really important.
Mm.
Mom was very good at, getting us up, making sure that we would shower and have our breakfast and do our quiet time and then have our homeschooling, but we'd be done by lunch. Like, that's what I really remember. We'd always be done by lunch. And so after lunch was kind of like free for all. You can do whatever you want. And we were not belabored with so many things back then because we lived in the valley. So we just we explored like the environment because we had
Outdoors.
outdoor space. Anytime mom would have Bible study, she would take us with her. So we were exposed to other people. We had friends in the village as well, and then church stuff. So we had a good balance, but it wasn't like we were always tired, like running after doing so many activities all the time.
Did you ever feel like you were missing out on anything during your childhood
No.
years?
I never did.
Was there ever?
That sounds so straight. No, actually, I didn't feel that way. I didn't feel like, oh, I wish I was in like a regular school or that I could do these things with other people. Because I think as a family unit as well, we had a lot of time to just spend together too. So
Yeah.
we had that.
The question Joy opened was highlight.
Oh,
So I'd love to
yes,
give the highlight
sorry.
because you did
The
give a little
highlight.
bit of a background of,
Sorry.
hey, this is what the rhythms
Yeah.
look like, which is super good.
And I was
But
born into it, right?
I'm eager to hear because I don't think we've ever asked you this question, even just
Just casually,
family
right?
gatherings when we're together.
Highlight for homeschooling was, well, looking back, I think on retrospect, is that it developed in me a love for learning. And because of that love for learning, that kind of pushed me forward when I was in regular school to be able to just really enjoy the whole learning process of whatever we're learning, right? So learning was fun. It wasn't stressful. I didn't feel like school was a chore or a task, or like it was, oh, I have to get, do all this stuff. I just really loved learning.
And so,
Yeah.
go ahead. I wanted to ask, make it tangible. When you said your mom made you develop a love for learning, or homeschooling made you develop a love for learning, it wasn't a chore. These are all good, but make it tangible. You said earlier,
Okay.
for example, you finished by lunch.
Yeah.
So can you give more cues for people so that if they're listening, they're like, I need to do this so I can make my kids love learning more?
I think there's a certain level also of discipline that was instilled, even though it didn't feel like it was forced upon me. But that discipline of the regularity and the rhythms of having, knowing that, okay, today, Monday through Friday, we have our homeschool to do in the morning. You have to get that done. But then afterwards, you're free to be able to do whatever you want to do, to create, to play, to cook, to bake. I love baking, by the way. So I do a lot of baking. So because you know what to expect each day, then it would give us kind of that sense of guidance in our work and then freedom as well.
It's interesting, right? Because we both know that mom is not the most organized person.
No, she's not.
She's not. But for some reason, when it came to our homeschooling schedule,
She was good at it.
she was very careful about protecting that morning time.
Yes.
She was present. I don't remember her saying, "Okay, you guys homeschool on your own. I'll be back later."
Yeah, which I feel
Which
like
we do a lot
as moms now, we do so much. She would be there. Although a funny story, just for the audience to know, is sometimes she would be there, but she would be laying down on that really
I know,
bench.
that ledge,
She would
yeah.
fall asleep if she was so tired, and then we just call her if we needed her. The other thing about homeschooling, I think that's a highlight, is it taught me to self-study. This is in terms of the academics. So when I got to school, when I got to high school or middle school and in college, it wasn't like a big transition where I had to learn how to study. How do I find the information, or how do I figure this out? Because we did it a lot already at 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, right? And another highlight, sorry, I'm just highlighting the highlights. I guess there's a lot of them, is I wasn't pulled back, or how do I say it? I could go as fast as I wanted to through the material.
You could supplement, you could advance.
Yeah, like for example, I think when I was in grade 4, I was doing grade 7 math. Like, because we just finished it. When we finished the
You were?
book, yeah.
I didn't do that.
I think I was. Or grade 6, maybe grade 6 math.
Yeah.
So we would just get the next book. So it was like, oh, it can just keep going.
Yeah. I guess I want to ask a question too. Like, how do you think it impacted you in terms of convictions, character?
Oh yeah.
What are some of the things that you appreciated about that season that you felt
Well,
were really internalized?
I think that's the so everything I shared is kind of like the above the ground, but I think the below the ground, which is really important, is really the values and the relationship that mom and dad modeled with Jesus first and foremost, so that we could also learn about who is God, who is Christ, what does that mean for me? And it became something personal for me at a certain age. I think I was around 7 when I gave my life to Jesus. But because of that, I would say that was also the ultimate driving force for why I would want to achieve and excel and do things well and do my best, because you the shift is now not just I have to obey my parents, I have to do this because I have to work,
Mm.
to I really want to do my best because this pleases God and I want to please the Lord. So what does it look like to please God is, you know, um honoring my parents, obeying them, but at the same time doing my best in my studies and really that kind of mentality. So I think that was so key in doing in getting through that whole
Do you think
season.
that came naturally to you? You said 7 years old you came to Christ, and it's this desire to say, I want to do my best for Jesus. Let's hear how that how
I
did you
think
think that became crystallized?
I mean every person's different, right? Every person's spiritual journey and faith journey is different. And I think that God also gave me a very simple faith. So like I knew I was a sinner. I knew I needed a savior. I knew I needed Jesus, and I entrusted my life to him. And it was like, okay, Lord, from this on out,
I'm gonna
this
do my
I,
best
I
for you.
want to do my best for you. So even when it came to obedience to parents, it was more like I will obey because I know this is as unto the Lord. And I don't know. I think it's really the grace of God, number one, and His Spirit. And it's not something like I can take credit for, like, oh, well, that's because the person I am. Because I don't know how God really touched my heart to just be that way and to really feel that in everything that I did. And so that was like, and I knew, for example, I know God is with me, and I know He's going to help me. So um, I just always had that assurance along the way.
I
And I
actually,
I think, sorry, just to add to it, it really helped to be with you guys as
Mm.
family. Of course, we don't have a perfect family, but to see mom and dad model,
Mm.
their love for Jesus and their trust in Jesus also, and then to have a family that is functioning and functional and really fun to be with,
Mm.
I think that made it also easier for me not to want to try to look outside to find to find people to hang out with that are not going to be stressful, because it wasn't stressful at home. Like it
Yeah.
was really fun to be.
And so this is, I think we'll take a little bit of a turn here because
Mm,
this is not something that I've asked you before, even. We've
mm,
not really talked about it so much. And I think people haven't heard this perspective. But obviously, when our house was robbed
mm.
back in 1990, what was it, 1992,
Maybe.
95, 92,
33 years ago.
It
92.
was
All right.
1990.
34 years from
1992.
this year.
So one
You were
30.
7 years old. You were
Yes,
homeschooled at the time, yes.
yes.
But you talked about how having a functional family, having a great foundation in terms of a healthy family
Mm,
and a close family, was so important to you, and you really appreciated that.
mm,
How do you think that helped you to weather the storm of that incident and that season? Because you had your own version of that
mm.
trauma, which people actually haven't heard about, which you can also share. What was that like for you when our house
Was being
was
robbed.
was robbed? Yeah.
Well, I remember it super vividly because we were playing a game in our with Paul, our brother, and Candy had to be the one to go out. Candy answered the gate, right?
Mm,
So she went out. So I can remember step by step what happened
mm,
up until the point that they actually tied us up. And so it was very vivid and very traumatic in that sense. But, of course, praise God, they did not touch me like this with the way they touched you and your friends. But we were tied up hand and foot, face down. I mean, guns were pointed to us too. Because what happened was Candy didn't come back for a while. So I was like, Paul, why is it taking Candy so long? Let's go out and check. So we walked that hall, the hallway going out
Mm.
to our house. And then right as we got to the foyer, like there were guns pointed to our face already. So they're like, get down and everything. So we got down and they're like, not here, over there in the living room. So we transferred. But so I remember those moments. And then I remember thinking, we're gonna die.
Mm.
So sorry. So of course, you don't know. Everything is magnified when you're laying down. And
It was a cold marble floor.
yeah, very cold.
Yeah.
And what I think helped me to go through it. But anyway, so we didn't die, praise God. But it sounded like somebody got shot at one point because it was so quiet
Mm.
and you could hear everything. And then I think I heard a big boom, and I was like, somebody got shot. And then we would see because I was laying down with my arms and hands tied up. So laying down, and I could see their like dirty boots walking by, and I'm like, they're gonna shoot us, they're gonna kill us. And even, of course, I gave my life to Christ, but you're still gonna be scared as a kid.
Mm.
Um, and so it was quite a long time, and it was cold, and it's very, very intense. Up until when we got released, because they left, and then Candy like untied everybody because her ties were loose. She did. And
I
the
didn't know
driver,
that.
yeah, it was the driver and Candy who untied everybody. 'Cause
Okay.
their bandages were loose. So when they left, by the way, did you know they used our computer wire to tie us up?
I didn't know that.
So they cut the wires of like our mouses and the computers, and that's what they used to
Wow.
tie us. So
Painful.
so my hand was so numb because like there was no more circulation to my thumb. My feet were tied up. I'm like, why do you have to tie up hands and feet? I'm not gonna run anywhere.
Mm.
But so choosing to just move forward, and I think it really helped too that the whole family came together and that we didn't keep it a secret. So we shared it. And then for school, I ended up a couple of years later having to write about it. So I think that helped too when I was in faith already, like talk about a story. So I rewrote the whole incident. But really having the close family and trusting that God will take care of us. I think I did ask mom. I don't remember a lot of stuff post.
Mm.
I just remember that I was a little obsessive and compulsive about locking doors.
You were.
Yeah, like
And you didn't want
super.
to play outside as much anymore.
Yeah. So prior to that, we would go outside a lot. And then after that, I kind of became a homebody. And that's when I put on a lot of weight.
Yeah.
So for the mothers and fathers out there, if you want to keep your kids slimmer, just get them running outdoors. Because I ended up putting on a lot of weight during that season. So I think it was 7, 8, 9 years old because I just was scared to go out. And then I don't know how you guys dealt with my obsessive compulsive, like I gotta lock the door. At night, I would call ask mom, like, is the back door locked? Is the front door locked? And if nobody would answer it, I would actually go there and lock it myself or check it, even car doors, everything. And that lasted, I think, from 7, 8, 9 years old. I think that lasted for 3 years.
It lasted
Until,
she's now 40.
yeah. Oh, no, but when we moved houses and
Mm.
we changed the environment,
It was different.
it lessened. And then I forgot about it. For years, I forgot about it until mom mentioned it again. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. It was a little
Yeah.
OCD.
And that's the time that I began. That's when I met you guys in that new
12.
home.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, Carolyn, super. I love how honest you were about even that glimpse. And I'm amazed that you're able to ask this question. Of course, take your sister to think about the questions that are not asked
I know, right?
to get your heart to really reveal. Like what I'm hearing is the beauty of how even through that season, God anchored you, even at a young age. And having a family to help cope with even what you mentioned, like how did you all cope with her obsessive compulsiveness? All that. I think it's a strong family.
One of the things
support
I
that
noticed is
do that.
I don't think anybody ever made a big deal about it,
Mm.
which I think is a super important part of helping kids go through
To heal.
those things.
Mhm.
Remember Candy? She had this
Candy
like
was
tick
worse. She had a tick.
behavior.
Yeah, we
kind
should
of-
Turn off
have-
every faucet, right? Turn off the
Get
faucet.
Candy on
Yeah.
the show.
Yeah.
Anyway, she did, but because mom and dad didn't emphasize it so much or make a big deal out of it, and I think they just prayed for her and then they just encouraged her and helped her, she finally stopped. So I think similarly with my obsessive compulsive locking doors, I don't actually remember how it
Faded.
went away. It just
Yeah.
faded. And it wasn't a big thing. I think sometimes if you overemphasize an
That's really good.
issue, it becomes a bigger issue.
That's really good.
That's
Even
for
for me.
me.
Yeah. Well, can I ask? I was
Yeah,
waiting for
go
this.
ahead.
I was waiting for this question because you asked a good one. Can I just ask really? Oh, fine. Ladies first. I have to model
Oh.
to those who are watching this podcast patience, understanding, even if I've been
Loving
waiting to ask
kindness.
these two questions.
If
So
it's
go.
right on your, if
Don't
it's,
forget
if
your
it's top of
question.
mind, you should ask it because you might
Okay.
forget it.
Just to show modeling,
Mhm.
graciousness. Go.
Okay.
Don't forget the questions,
Yeah.
Edric.
So what I wanted to ask was there ever a point, first I love how beautifully you framed it, that I think having a close-knit family, having parents who are really involved in our lives,
Mm,
and the homeschooling environment allowed us to really develop relationships with one another,
yeah.
provided a cushioning for this kind of trauma,
Yes.
right? It allowed us to heal better. I think, and that is something we will never want to take for granted, because a lot
Right.
of families
Don't have that.
don't have that. But I wanted to know too, from your perspective, was there ever a time when you question God's goodness because of this, or struggled in your faith because of this, or was it fairly easy for you to say, you know what,
Yeah.
I trust God still?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I don't remember like a time where I turned away from God thinking like, well, you can't protect us anymore, so why will I trust you? But mom reminded me, and see, I forget a lot of things.
I'm surprised mom remembers
I
all
know
this.
she does. She told me at one point, I actually asked her the question, if God allowed us to be robbed
Mm.
the first time, like what's to say that he
It won't
won't
happen.
it won't happen again?
Good question.
It's a good question.
What'd she say?
And she said that there's no guarantee that these things will not happen again, which is an honest answer. But if he allows it to happen, he will be with us through it again.
Yeah.
Something like that. And I think that that was enough for me. And that's why I forgot the
Super.
question.
Super good.
Because the answer was
Yeah.
satisfactory,
Yeah.
sufficient for me. Um so sorry, I kind of forgot your question.
No. So how did you process it? Yeah.
Because I think it's a great way to frame how, when we go through difficult circumstances, and our children will for sure
Yeah.
have their own versions
Challenges.
of challenges, and a lot of times we're thinking we should just protect so that they'll never experience anything difficult, but instead it's really to prepare them
Yeah.
that there will
storms.
come seasons in your life where you'll go through hard things, but guess what, God is in control.
Yeah.
God will get you through it.
Yeah.
And it's like what Dad used to say, right? We can't avoid the storms
Oh,
of
boy.
life. What is his quote?
Yeah, his quote is, "You will not be storm free, but you can be storm proof."
Storm-proof.
Yeah.
What I landed from what Carolyn was saying is, if God takes you to it, He'll take you through it.
Yes.
Right.
He
It's
can.
kind of what I like.
Yes.
So, I have my question now,
Yes. Okay.
which is related to this. Right. The two questions I had was, tell us about Dad's role in your homeschooling experience.
Okay.
So we hear mom,
Yeah.
mom's there, and in our next part, I will ask you both, because you both said you're not as present as mom was back then. What does that look like? Is that good or bad? That'll be a whole other conversation, right? As far as managing time and the realities of today. But let's go back, since we're doing the Carolyn in the past,
Okay.
your homeschooling season.
what was
We know
Dad?
mom. What was his role,
Okay.
and how did he
Okay.
help shape that season for you?
Well, I think Dad was just like, of course, Dad is busy. He was working, he was doing ministry, but he always made it a point to be home for dinner, except maybe one night a week when there was Bible study.
But he
Like,
would take us with
maximum
him a lot
two.
of times.
And sometimes he would take us with
Yeah.
him, right? A lot
Yeah.
of times he did, actually. Or sometimes we would just be home. Like the robbery was one
Yeah.
of those nights. So him being present, it didn't have to be oodles of time. Dad didn't actually participate in the actual teaching of materials and like the homeschool work texts, but he exposed us to so much in terms of, let's say, sports,
Travel.
trips, travels, and then of course the dinners at home. And then he would also be responsible to do, let's say, a weekly Bible study with us. And those Bible studies were not long. It was really like one verse, one application, and then everybody shares. So it would be a very nice way to just spend time together. I remember one thing about Dad though is whenever we would have Bible study, if he couldn't see our faces, let's say one of us is lying down and he's like, no, I have to see all your faces. So he would make sure to command presence, that we were like engaged and active. But it wasn't like he sat us there for an hour and be like, okay, we're gonna discuss, the exposition of John and
Sounds familiar.
ju-
Sounds very
he
familiar.
was
Familiar that
not.
You do the exposition of
No,
John.
no, no. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
Like this,
No,
this whole
so
model.
it's more like,
Yeah.
let's read Psalm 139 verse 1 to 5, and then okay, what does it say? And then we'll go around and say what and then what can you learn from it, and then what will you apply? That's it. So our Bible studies were fun, and they were, so I appreciated that. Travel time was always really good. I think I wanted to share this because maybe some are asking, how do you develop the close knit family relationship? We would travel together, and I remember this very distinctly, that we would always travel as a family. Like, it was kind of exclusive, right? We wouldn't invite friends or
Extended family.
not even extended family, but because we were so together, and those times of just really having fun together, I think that built our relationship well. And then dinner times were really also blocked off. So during dinner, no music, no TVs playing
No
in the
music.
background.
Interesting.
No,
Mm.
not. It was just us eating like
For 2 hours.
for 2 hours or an hour and a half.
Mm.
And we would sit down and we would wait for each other. We would pray and then we'd eat. And of course, all the food would go away real quick because we were all hungry. But
And we'd walk together after at night.
yes, you're right. That was really important too. So we would eat, we would talk about whatever happened during the day or questions. And then after that, we would go for a walk. And usually when I was younger, they would push me in a stroller, I'd fall asleep. So that was when I was like 2 to 5, maybe. But we'd always walk after. So that was kind of like the habit. And Dad was there and he's present. And then I think the other way that Dad was really, he was always available if we needed
Mm.
to talk to him about something. Or if, even growing up, like we would say, hey, Dad, can you share with our friends or classmates? Like he would always be willing to do that.
He was always
Okay.
accessible. Yeah.
So
Super good.
accessible.
Final
if we
question.
called him
Yes.
You would answer.
in the office, he told all of his secretaries,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if I'm in a meeting, I will answer the call of my kids.
That's really good.
So he would always make time
That's really good.
for us. So we didn't feel like, oh, Dad's just too busy.
Yes.
Yeah, and then just speaking to the dads out there, that's something I also saw from my father. So seeing it both ways, I try to make it a point to do the same. Super important that you send not the busy signals, but the available signals. So my final question,
Mm.
because we have several parts to go.
Okay,
and
go.
I'm sure you might have one, but my final question is, looking back
Mm.
at your homeschooling season,
Mhm.
knowing all that you know now,
Mm.
would you do anything differently if you could go back?
No, I don't think so. I think I
You have
was
been
really,
homeschooled for longer.
maybe if ever there would be, maybe that one. The reason why I went in grade 6 was because Candy was grade 8. So Mom wanted us to go together so that we had
You had each other.
each other. But so maybe that will transition to, how did I transition to school? I remember the first few maybe weeks or months, I thinking, oh, I miss the freedom and the time that I had, the free time that I had during homeschooling. Because once you're in a conventional school, it's really much, you have less time to do other things.
Mm.
And it's more like school, school, school. And then when you get home, you have to study, study, study. If you do sports, there's sports as well. So I was like, kind of missed it. And then Mom also said, I kind of wish I kept you one more year, maybe to grade 7. But
You would have been a rocket scientist by now.
no, but God uses all things. And I
Right.
think grade 6 was a good transition for me as well, with the friends and all that. So maybe an extra year, but I think because I'm really blessed to be where I'm at now, I wouldn't change anything. I'm happy.
Yeah.
Okay, and as a teaser, Joy did say there are questions that we will talk about as far as transition
Oh, yes.
and also wearing multi hats. What about the busyness of moms today? We're going to do that in the next part, so stay tuned. In the meantime, I'm Edric,
I'm Joy.
and we're here to help you.
Get it right from the start.